New tonight in Waterbury, officials say they are disappointed after the Christopher Columbus statue was beheaded. This incident coming after many historical statues have come down and removed across the state. Fox 61's Brian Didlake brings us the latest reaction.
Officials say overnight the Christopher Columbus statue was beheaded, which caused quite a reaction online. But just a day later, protesters say that this whole incident may have been unavoidable.
So people are frustrated with that. You know, if we keep talking, going about this the right way, and things aren't getting done going about it the right way, then what's left?
Well, to answer that question, what's left is a statue without a head. Protesters say they've tried to bring awareness the Christopher Columbus statue didn't represent the city in today's time, and say whoever did this mirrors the thoughts of many rallying against the man behind the statue.
He's the symbol of the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. You know, he raped, he committed genocide, he's a mass murderer, he tortured. And that's the history that needs to be taught about him.
Waterbury Mayor Neil O'Leary sent out a statement saying he is disappointed and disturbed by the incident. Mayor O'Leary says he is already working to address the impact of systemic racism, but says this type of behavior is unacceptable and not tolerated. Those thoughts echoed by over 2,000 people who signed a petition to keep the statue up, and Waterbury Unico, who originally helped erect the statue in 1984.
Very shocking and heart-wrenching thing to wake up to, especially on Independence Day, the 4th of July. We're supposed to celebrate America, and that someone is, actually attacking another American, basically.
Unico is raising money to fix the statue, but also offering a $5,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest.
You can't go and vandalize something that belongs to someone else, and it's a crime, and violence is not the answer ever.
The fact that you are more saddened by the death of a statue than the deaths of thousands of black people across the United States, that is worrying, that is troubling to me.
But protesters say the movement is more than the event surrounding the Christopher Columbus statue, as they marched to the police station to have their voices heard, mentioning their anger against the arrest of over 20 people from the first weekend of protest all the way back at the end of May.
We will hold the Waterbury police accountable. And if the chief of police, again, Fernando C. Spagnola, does not do that, we will demand that he be terminated.
We're here to stand up, and we're here to put our foot down. We're tired of you guys sitting here and belittling us, making us feel like we do not matter. Because guess what? It's BLM. And what does that mean?
Black Lives Matter!
You dig?
Protesters say that they will continue to file complaints against the Waterbury Police Department until their demands are met. But as far as supporters for the Christopher Columbus statue, well, they will continue to raise money for its restoration. In Waterbury, Brian Didlake, Fox 61 News.